You heard Speaker Pelosi. Those were not fighting words. She did not come out of that caucus the way I heard a lot of Democrats last night at a gathering here in Washington who were yelling and screaming about what the president had suggested at the table. So it seems to me that there is a little bit of movement here.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of movement. I think there's recognition with the higher unemployment today, 9.2%. I think the anticipation was 80,000 new jobs. Instead, we got 18,000. I think there's the realization that the sheer weight of this debt is such a lug on the economy. It's such an anchor. That members are beginning to understand that we've got to do something to tackle it, and we need that grand bargain. We need really, Andrea, to ratchet this thing down with a clear path. I would say $4 trillion would really bring a lot of reassurance back into the market, a lot of certainty, and probably a lot more investment and job creation in the U.S. right now.
But to get to $4 trillion, you're going to have some changes in the tax law. You know that.
That's right.
You're on financial services. And how does the Speaker bring along his wing? Because you've got people like Michelle Bachmann out there on the campaign trail putting up an ad in Iowa saying, I will not vote for a debt ceiling no matter what is in it. But she's ruling out a vote in favor of raising the debt ceiling even if it had unlimited budget cuts in it. So you're not going to be able to deal with that kind of Tea Party caucus.
But I think that the point the Speaker is making is that there's going to be more in deficit reduction than in this arrangement than we increase the debt limit for. So it's a net plus in terms of debt reduction. I mean, you get the $4 trillion debt reduction if we get this deal done. And second, you and I know that there's, we think about the ethanol subsidy, some of these other subsidies. There's a good number of these subsidies. There's a win-win here, by the way. One of the ideas that's been floated is bring down the corporate tax rate, which is the highest in the world in terms of industrialized nations. We're at 35, they're at 25 in Europe. If we brought that down to 26.4%, but help pay for it on paper by closing these loopholes, we're told by economists $750 billion additional dollars and all that economic growth come into the Treasury. So there's a way here to simultaneously close some of the loopholes, bring down the corporate tax rate, bring the revenues into the Treasury up as a consequence of this, and create more economic growth and more jobs, which further get us out of these economic doldrums. So I think that probably will be part of this package as it moves forward.
Congressman, at this stage, what happens next? What happens in the next 24 hours as you all prepare for the next meeting at the White House?
Well, I think there's some hard negotiations right now. As we get closer to August 2nd, obviously the clock ticks. But at the same time, I think probably Treasury leans in a little bit with the administration. You've heard from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, what he's had to say about that. He says the #1 national security threat to the United States right now is what? Our debt, the size of our debt. So you're going to have a great deal of pressure bringing to bear on the White House and the congressional leaders to get this deal done. And I think the overall format of it I've already suggested in terms of a lower corporate tax rate but closing corporate loopholes combined with entitlement reform. That has to happen because long term these programs are going to go they're going to go bust if we don't make adjustments to them. Now's the time to do it. Now's the time to make those tough decisions because it reassures the markets and thus creates the certainty which brings investment and employment. So I think this deal gets done, but I do think when you talk about what's next, we're going to see a lot of chest beating. We're going to see a lot of, those who have made their career in politics by bringing entitlement upon entitlement upon entitlement into the system are going to have a very tough time with ratcheting down and making entitlement reform. But we can't ratchet only one way. The ratchet can't only go to the left. At some point it has to come down. When you're borrowing 40 cents of every dollar you spend, that's the point where you've got to cut spending, and that's where we are today.
Congressman Ed Royce, we have to leave it there. Thanks so much. It's going to be a busy weekend. And